Hello, my name is Scott Bradley and this is the SNN Sports Football Voices podcast, and as always you can find our episodes on YouTube, and I'm delighted to be joined by SNN Sports Ambassador and footballing legend Gordon Smith. Gordon, how are we?
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
And I'm also joined by my new co-host, former Rangers and Scotland star John Spencer. John, how are we?
I'm very well, Scott, thank you.
And we've got a jam-packed episode today, but I want to kick off talking about Scotland. Gordon, I'll start with you. For the first time in 27 years, Scotland have qualified for a World Cup. I was one at the time when we qualified. Last week, obviously, when we did qualify, it was surreal. It was incredible. But yeah, we finally done it.
Yeah, it was such an exciting match. I mean, everybody talks about the great goals we saw, which was fantastic. But we did. It was quite interesting from the point of view that I think over all the years, the number of times we've been unlucky in terms of trying to qualify, bad luck, and it wasn't happening. This time, I think we've had luck. I think it's gone in our favour because, we were outplayed by Greece and we beat them. We were outplayed by Denmark. Even when they had 10 men, they seemed to be outplaying us at that point. So I thought that when you're looking at it, you're thinking this is the first time in a long time we've actually had the breaks, and we don't normally get that. It was great goals. I mean, the one that actually made the biggest difference to me was actually Tierney's goal, because I just thought when they went to 2 each, I thought that's it, we're blowing it again. They get the late equaliser and we think we're heading for a win here. Late equaliser, you think this is happened to us again so many times, and then all of a sudden, Kieran Tierney fired that shot in, and I wasn't at that game, but it got me out of the seat when he fired that one in. I thought, yeah, beauty, because that's it. We're going to win this game, and then the last goal was fantastic. Obviously, it was immaterial though, but Tierney's goal made a big difference.
Oh, 100%. And when you look at Scott McTominay's goal, like, what more can you say about Scott McTominay, John? Like, he is box office. And I think Big Alec McLeish deserves a lot of credit because he was the one that obviously convinced Scott McTominay to play for Scotland.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I think if you look at his rise over the last, 12 to 16 months since he left Manchester United, I don't know if like a lot of players at this time, the last few years at United, they've not seemed to have hit the level that they've been expected. But he's went to Napoli and he just seems to, it's fitted him like a glove. That style of football seems to really come through. Conte's got a lot of trust in him. Won the championship. I think he's up for the Ballon d'Or as well, which could do his confidence a lot of good. But you see him, the way he plays now, he strolls around the pitch, full of self-belief, full of quality, and they go, as you say, then how can you explain it?
Oh, definitely. And Gordon, when you look at Scott McTominay, like, if obviously Scotland never snapped him up, he would definitely be in the England squad.
I think he would be now. I mean, at first, I don't think it would have been much at Manchester United. As Spenny said there, he wasn't really getting played as much as you think he should have at Manchester United. He was in and out of the team a lot, but it's taken off now. So the very fact that how he's doing in Italy, he'd probably be in the England squad now without doubt in terms of that performance, because he's probably better than any midfield player that England actually have, because he's a threat at the times. And that's the one thing about Scotland. I think the strongest area we've got is actually our midfield. If you look at other parts of the team, I think we're about weak. We're not the best at centre-back. And I think that's been a problem for us. We've not really been so as good defensively as we should be. And then up front, striker is also a position where we've actually found trouble actually finding the right player for that position. But in midfield, we've got a real good competition for places there. Even good players are getting left out the team because we've got so many players to choose from in midfield.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. Because so when you look at the Scotland squad, it's jam-packed with quality, like all over, Gordon. And obviously, this might be Steve Clarke's last major tournament. Obviously, he took us to the Euros back-to-back. But do you think it will be his last one?
So it depends, really. I think that if he wants to keep it going, and it depends how we actually do in the World Cup, because we're going over there. We don't know who we're playing against yet, or where we're actually going to be playing, because it's like spread out this time, as you know, in 3 different countries. So it's quite a massive tournament. First time it's ever been 48 teams, which I think is far too many for a competition, because I think after even the first round of it, there's still 52 teams still in it, and I think they're moving. What I've heard is they're moving for 64 in 2030. There's going to be 64 teams in the final, so it's unbelievable, because it's a shame, because a lot of good European teams do miss out, but Denmark might still get there, obviously. But I think Steve Clarke, I think it might depend if he gets a good tournament out of it and there's a big demand for him to stay. I think he'd be tempted to stay in the job.
And obviously, in terms of Steve Clarke replacement, John, like when you look at the options out there, everyone has always said that it'd be Derek McInnes, but what he's doing at Hearts right now, would he be even tempted to leave Hearts at this moment in time? I don't think so.
I think as Gordon says, a month in football is a long time. You know, like obviously there's the euphoria of qualifying for that World Cup, right? You know, Clarke has done a great job so far. You get into the World Cup and he, you know, gets us through to the knockout phases of the tournament, and then everybody's like, we want it to stay. So I think it's like it changes. You know, if it goes as a pool tournament, then it'll be calling for his head. So time in football, you know what I mean, a month is a long time.
That's the thing as well, because that would also be a first if we actually ever get out of our group section. You know, that we've never done that. And even all the ones we've been in, we've never qualified out of the group. And there's a great stat from 1974, which you probably know about, that in the 1974 World Cup, Scotland were the only unbeaten team in that World Cup.
Yeah.
We never get out of the group.
Is that Algernon?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Algernon goal. I
No,
think
that was 78.
78.
This was 74, but we actually, I think it was 1 win and 2 draws we had, and we never qualified. But at the end of the tournament, Germany won it, and Germany had lost during the group stage. They had lost to East Germany. So we were the only unbeaten team in that World Cup.
So it'll be a difficult tournament, as Gordon has touched on, playing in 3 different countries, Canada,
It's a lot.
US, and
Aye.
the travel involved.
Oh, I
And I mean, I played in Major League Soccer for 4 years, and you're training at altitude and playing at altitude in Colorado, and then you're flying on the Friday down to play in Tampa Bay, and it's hot and humid, and you're going from, you know, a mile high down to sea level.
Yeah.
And the demands of that tournament, time zone changes,
But like that,
it's going to be really demanding.
It will be a bit like that because the World Cup is going to be in the summer. Obviously, it will be hot in some places, won't it?
Really
Very hot.
it's going to test the players.
Yeah.
Mexico especially is going to test the players with the dirty air
Yeah.
and the altitude there. So
Yeah.
it will test their character for a lot of players, to test their fitness levels.
Oh, no, 100%. And Gordon, I want to ask you this as well, right? When you look at the last 2 major tournaments that Scotland have been in, Scotland, let's be honest, were terrible. They stunk the joint out, to put it bluntly, right? We were awful. But I'm in the mindset of, like, I want us to actually go there and do something. I don't want to just go there and make up a number.
Yeah. I think they've got to go there. I think they've got to be quite relaxed about it and go there and with no expectation, really. I think that's the best thing. I think that's why England struggle at times, because there's great expectancy levels down in England. When they go to a tournament, everybody's always thinking, oh, we're going to win this, we're going to win it. Years with Scotland, I've never had that, and I think they can relax. I mean, a great example, I think one of the best ever examples was, you know, the Denmark team that they get brought into the tournament 10 days before the tournament because Yugoslavia got thrown out.
That was the Euros, right?
Yeah, the Euros. And I remember speaking to Brian Loudon about it, and he said he was on holiday like every other player. He was on the beach, like when he got into the hotel, they said there'd been a message for you, and it was the Danish FA saying, can you come and play in the tournament? We've been put into it. So he says, I'll ask my wife if it's all right if I leave it. Now, every player was the same. Now they turned up there like totally as underdogs, no expectancy level at all, and won it. Now I think that everybody always goes along with all this stuff about preparation and friendlies and fitness and all that. They came off their holidays and won it. You know what I mean? So I think if Scotland go over to the World Cup finals, and as I say, they're quite relaxed, we've got a lot of good players, so it's a good example just to say, right, okay, there's no expectancy level, just go and enjoy it, just go and play and have a good time.
And John, I want to ask you this as well. In terms of Steve Clarke, obviously, he's received a lot of criticism for his style of play and whatnot. Do you think it's been a bit over the top? Because he has obviously took Scotland to three major tournaments, and he'll probably go down as the most successful Scotland manager of all time. Do you think some of the criticism has been a bit over the top?
I think it's part and parcel in the modern game. It's like we spoke about before we come on camera. It's sometimes you've got to be pragmatic. I think Gordon's touched on it, that he felt that maybe one of the weakest parts is building it for the back, right? Maybe our 2 centre-backs don't feel comfortable in the ball. But what he's done is he's not buckled to public opinion. He's turned it around, listen, I don't fancy us building it for the back. So what we're going to do is goal kicks, we're going to squeeze up high, we're going to knock it long, we're going to fight for the second balls, and then we're going to play from there. So you've got to give him 10 out of 10 for pragmatism, right? Modern game now is building it for the back. Everybody's got to pass through the lines, move the team up and down the pitch, possession, 500 and 600 passes a game. But the bottom line is the game is about results. It's a results-driven business, and that's why you get the jobs, and that's why you get the sack, because if you don't get the results. And the one thing about Stevie is he's been pragmatic, but he's took the team to another major championship. So it depends what you want. Do you want to go to the major championships, or do you want to outpass teams and get beat every week and no get to the major tournaments? And then what's the fans going to say? He's not obtained the objective, and that's to get to the tournament, so he needs to leave the position. So for me, it depends what you want. If you want to go to the major tournaments, you've got to play to your strengths. And Clarke obviously feels that going from front back to front quickly is a strength of his team that he's got and the tools at his disposal. So
I think
he's done it well.
I think as well that as Spence says there about when you're attacking, we've got a big habit in the game these days as players that if it's breaking down and the opposition are all really deep, they'll end up going back the way rather than just cross the ball in. Just put it in high into the box and just see what happens there. Because one of the opposition players might even head it down, like what happened when Kieran Tierney scored that goal. That was a clearance that he picked up. Right now, that was just because we played a long ball forward, trying to put Denmark under pressure. And I don't see why we don't do that more often, and Scottish teams don't. We've got big strikers as well. We can play big dikes and people like that up front and just say, right, okay, we'll throw it up and you go and challenge for it, and we might get the breaks from that. So I would think that's something that we could do to improve in terms of make it difficult for other teams to play against us.
I think you'll find with Doak, Doak's the little winger, I think he's more of an action. He seems to be a wee bit of a throwback where he goes at fullbacks on the outside looking to get crosses in the box, whereas a lot of teams play with that inverted winger where they're coming in and they're not crossing the ball, it's square passes, and for me personally, I don't mind building up through the lines, but I like the wingers to get to the bylines, get crosses and get cutbacks, and I think as a former striker, I don't think there's anything better than getting that type of service, cutbacks into the penalty spot area, get your one-touch finishes off. So it just depends how you want to play.
Agreed.
No, definitely. And obviously we're talking off air about, obviously, when you look at like modern coaches nowadays where they're obsessed with a certain style of play. And as you said, Gordon, like Kieran Tierney having a shot outside the box, so refreshing to see, because nowadays you never really see that anymore.
No.
And that's the first time Gordon in 35 years has ever shouted, "I love Tierney."
Probably all of us, mate.
The fortunate aspect, it was really good to think about this because he put him on as a substitute, but he put him at right back. Now, if that ball, if it had been a right-footed player, they wouldn't have done what Kieran Tierney did.
They wouldn't have tried to shift over.
Yes, because it felt with his left foot and he was cutting in and looking that way, that's why he curled it for that. Now, if that had been a right-footed player, as I say, he wouldn't have done that. He'd have taken the ball and maybe gone wide with it or played it square or whatever. So that's the kind of things that you need to get from it. And as I say, I like to see wee changes in the game, things like that. But, the other one that amazes me and nowadays is the fact that nobody does it. Nobody puts players in the post defending corner kicks anymore. Now, every weekend, I'll see 3, 4, 5 goals that could have been prevented if somebody had been on the post. But they don't do it. It's almost as if it's a rule. I made a joke in a newspaper column. This is about 4 or 5 years ago. I think I said that this rule that FIFA brought in to stop teams putting players in the post, this is really working well. We're getting a lot more goals now. It was just a joke because I'm thinking, why do managers not do that?
Yes.
I think there's a goal. I think Sunderland scored one this weekend where he sent Sumler out swinging a corner and it was a soft header dropped down into
the because of nobody's post goal. I know. Like, why is that? I just don't. I need to get that explained to me. I really would.
And obviously, Gordon, I want to just move on from Scotland. Obviously, we're very happy with what's going on with the national team, but I want to move on to Rangers, and it's been a chaotic couple of weeks or so. Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thirlwell got the boot from Rangers. It's been madness. It's been a crazy season for Rangers, and that's one thing that's for sure is there's never a dull moment following Rangers at this moment in time. But what do you make of their sackings?
I found it very strange. You know why? Because they've not been that long in the job really, and I thought myself there wasn't any, I'd say, background information that they were under pressure. The only pressure they were under was from the supporters, and I don't know whether that the actual directors reacted to that because they were getting so much abuse from the Rangers fans. They were not happy with the signings, which I agreed with the fans in that respect. The signings were not good enough. But I thought maybe it would be Thelwell. I thought would be the one that would suffer for that. But I didn't think that Patrick Stewart would be put out as well because I thought he's just the chief exec. He's not involved in the player recruitment or anything like that. But I don't know why that came along. Maybe they just felt that they were both like a partnership. They come in together, and it was the decision was for them both to go because they were both getting criticised, to be fair, by the supporters. But it was a big change, and I think that for to happen in the aspect of a new manager coming in. Now you wonder did they play any part in bringing in the new boss, or did they not, or did they not want it? There is a lot of talk that he actually did complain about the squad to the board, which actually maybe was detrimental to Thelwell and Stewart's position as well. That he was actually saying, that the players are not good enough here.
Who complained on?
Manager.
Russell Martin.
No,
Darry Rowe.
Danny Rowe had seemingly went and complained about the standard of play and all that, and that could have been a major effect.
Do you think that Steven Gerrard turning the job down had maybe something to do with it, that they couldn't entice him back into the club?
Perhaps, because one thing I thought was really interesting, like you see the Rangers board, they made a big song and dance in the media, like we were speaking to Steven Gerrard in London, and they were so convinced they were going to get it over the line, and that didn't come to fruition, and it was a terrible, terrible look for the Rangers board. And then obviously Danny Rowe came out, said that he wasn't interested for the job, and then Kevin Muscat knocked Rangers back. So like Kevin Thurlow and Patrick Stewart, it was not good for their reputation whatsoever. Yeah. So obviously something had to happen, Gordon.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it was, because everyone looking at all the whole scenario was that the people running the club are thinking the supporters are not happy here just now. We really need to turn that around. Now, as I said, a new manager can come in and that can be a big factor in terms if he gets the team going. So far, he's getting results when the performances haven't been great. We've been getting some results, which is helping take that away from the club. But I just think that they did look at the scenario and just think, no, there's changes required here. These people have to be moved on, and we need to start again. And that's the main thing. As I say, it's always difficult because even a manager, every managerial appointment is also a risk. You're never sure how MD's going to do at a club, even if they've been very good at the previous club. You don't necessarily know they're going to be good at the one they go to, sort of thing. But
players as well, right?
Definitely.
Every signing
is a risk.
Tell me something, God. You've obviously been involved in was your role? Was it chief executive?
I was
just director of football.
I was director of football at Rangers.
So, is it quite possible that Russell Martin and Danny Rowe or Steven Gerrard, when they were offered the job, is it quite possible that the director of football has maybe set in place a structure where you come in and be the coach, and we're going to pick the players, and there's no say?
It could be that, actually, because I would be totally against that myself, because when that little spell I had in at Rangers, I actually said that we'll look for players, we'll look for recruitment, but it was always down to Ali McCoist. The last decision he had on every player was whether that player was good enough or not. So he then had to look at it in the stats and look at any footage and everything, because it was always a case of he's not got the time to go looking to recruit. There's people have to do that job, right? So, and I was saying that I would go and try and find the players that are available, whether their contracts are up or whether they're for sale at a reasonable price. But it was always down to the manager. And maybe, I don't know whether that, as you say, I don't know whether they were actually saying to managers, Russell Martin even just saying, no, we'll bring in the players and you play, but I don't agree with that at all.
So I think he's spot on with that.
I agree.
I totally agree with that, because I think that there's nothing wrong with, there's obviously levels at the club and you're getting players put to you all the time. They're siphoning through what's right for us, etc. But I think the manager who's working with that player on a daily basis has to know the characteristics of the player.
Yeah.
I was in a certain situation, I've no embarrass anybody, I'll no name the club, but I was an assistant coach over in Major League Soccer, and we get into this club and we play 5 or 6 games, and we get with the head coach, and the head coach is asking the staff, what do you think we need? So we all kind of come to the conclusion that we need a 7 and 11 with pace that can get service, get in behind teams, etc. And the general manager who came in later is going, right, okay, here's the 5 or 6 players that we should look at, have a look at the staff, coach staff, look at them. And I'll look at 3 or 4 of these players and I'm going, this is number 10. Nice. This is a number 10. This is a number 10. This is a number 10. Right. So I then speak to the head coach and I'm like, listen, we have asked for a 7, 11.
Yeah.
The players that I've been given, the chance to look at here are all number 10s.
Yeah.
And so therefore you've got that breakdown where the manager in certain clubs is asking for this type of player. And then the people upstairs are going, yeah, we hear you, but here, have a look at these players. So I think that's where a lot of breakdowns happening.
It is more of a continental thing, because I did find out when I went to play in Austria, I found out that it was the general manager, what they call over there. They call him the manager, and the guy takes the team as the trainer. We call the coach, it's the trainer and the manager, right? But the manager brought me in, and the trainer hadn't agreed to it, I don't think, whatever. But unfortunately for me, I was sub about first 4 or 5 games, and he got sacked. He got sacked after 5 or 6 games, and the new manager they brought in, he put me straight in the team. So I think so, and I got on really well with him. But if I'd stayed there, that other man had been in charge, I found it difficult. But I didn't know until I went there that he hadn't chosen me. You know what I mean? It was the manager that chose me to go there. So that's more of a continental thing, and maybe that's why certain people do it that way in this country as well. rather than actually do it so that the manager chooses the player.
And obviously Gordon used to be a sporting director at Rangers. Do you fancy coming back, mate? Do you fancy coming back?
Well, it's one of these things that I found that I recommend it. I met Craig White, and I told him you should have a director of football and a sporting director, whatever they call it. And the reason was, I said that the chief exec, who's above the manager, he's a business side of things more than anything else. He's doing all the different things at the club. What you need is somebody who actually analyses the football departments, right? And gives reports on the football departments and helps people within the football departments to see if things are going well for them, how things should be. Because you're looking at the youth development, you're looking at the recruitment, scouting, even medical side and all that, and just the welfare of the players. So you have to actually have somebody, I think, who's helping the manager to do it, because he can't do all that on his own. I think you need some help, and I recommended he should do that. And then the next thing was he came back and offered me the job. So it was my head and my heart there, and I decided in the end up, because it was my Rangers connection, I thought, I'll do this then. But it was a strange one, because Craig White found out soon, not long after going there, he wasn't a football man at all.
And also we'll come on to Craig White towards the end, but I just want to touch on Celtic right now. John, Martin O'Neill, he's won 6 of his last 7 games. He's done a great job. I don't think anyone could have predicted that Martin O'Neill will be back at Celtic after about 20 odd years, but it looks like Celtic are going to appoint Wilfred Nancy. Do you think Celtic are taking a big risk at this moment in time? Because they've got something good going on with Martin O'Neill, and they're bringing in Wilfred Nancy, who is a gamble in my opinion. What do you think, John? Do you think Celtic probably should have stuck with Martin O'Neill to the end of the season?
Well, I think if you look at Martin's age, right, he's in his 70s. I think he's made it quite clear that he answered the phone call and he was only interested in a short-term position at the club.
Yeah.
Maybe Sean Maloney and the other coaches would maybe hope they'd take. I think Martin's touched on it.
Yeah.
He said that Sean would hope that we'd take it longer. But I think if you're looking to, like, kind of, when you're bringing managers in, Gordon will probably answer this better than me. I would imagine that if you're signing somebody a 3 or 4 year plan, you want them to be not just 3 years, but you want them to be 6 years. If they're there 6 and 7 years, then they've really done well and the club's going in the right direction. So I think probably with the younger man, Wilfred Nancy was in Major League Soccer, obviously won a trophy there at the MLS Cup, I think maybe 2 years ago. Didn't have a terribly great season last year with the Columbus Crew. But it's like anything that we've touched on. Every signing is different, right? You don't know how he's going to correlate his Major League Soccer style to Celtic. The one thing, if you come into Celtic and Rangers and you've got the financial backing and you've got a good core group of players, which I think Celtic have, if you can get the players on your side, you've got a massive chance. Right? I think if you look at Celtic, they've been a stronger out of the 2 Old Firm teams over the last number of years. And if he comes in, and as I say, it all comes down to if you can get players to believe in the path that you're trying to take them in. I mean, you've seen it with Rangers with Russell Martin, things turn to him very, very quickly for whatever reason. But I think if Nancy comes in, hits the ground running, but they've got a great group of players in there, great squad, I think he could be successful.
Yeah, I was surprised. I just wondered whether Sean Maloney might have, they looked at what he could do and what he'd offer, because he would be the real coach, I would say. I think Martin O'Neill would have been honestly like an ambassador type of thing, whereas he would have been the one overall in charge of it, but not taking the training and all that sort of thing. I don't think he would have been doing that. I think he's just the man that would have been saying, right, he'd saying to Sean Maloney, right, here's the team we're going to go with. Because they've been down the line, there's been people like that in the game. I think Martin O'Neill was a wee bit like that even in his first time at Celtic. I think that John Robertson, people like
Steve Walford,
were doing the coaching side, and he was kind of the main guy, but the managers would say. And I wondered whether that might be something that they would do, and he would stay on there and do it. Because, as I said, they've got a cup final coming up and all that, and it's quite unusual for a new manager to come in straight away when the team's playing a cup final. But as John said, I saw Celtic playing last week in Europe, and that's probably the best performance I've seen from them this season, was in that game. I thought they were outstanding, and I think that Eindhoven couldn't cope with them. So Words are good at the weekend against Hibs, to be fair, but they are strong, and as I say, looking at the Rangers and Celtic, comparing the two of them, Celtic are definitely ahead in terms of the quality of play.
I think they're ahead in probably the attacking third of the pitch.
Yeah.
They seem to have more, mobility, more pace. Maeda played up front, his running ability. I don't think he's the most skillful type of player, but he certainly puts people under pressure and makes it a difficult afternoon for them. But I think going forward in the attacking third, they look a wee bit more dangerous than Rangers do at the moment.
And Gordon, I just want to ask you about the Celtic AGM. The scenes were unbelievable. The divide between the support and the Celtic board it's beyond toxic at this moment in time. But what do you make of the scenes at that AGM? Ross Desmond, he was not holding back whatsoever, was he?
No, it seems strange because you think to yourself, well, wait a minute, we're winning the league nearly every season just now, doing well.
What more do they want?
Why is this animosity there between the fans and the board and all that? I was shocked by it, But as somebody did say, it seemed Peter Law read a statement out when he said he was cancelling the meetings because of the behaviour. Now, if he's already got a statement saying that it was the case,
he knew it was coming.
He knew it was coming, and he knew that board meeting was going to be cancelled at that point. So it wasn't as if it was a surprise. He was just talking off the cuff. It was like all prepared. So they knew this was coming. But as I say, it does seem strange because Rangers is happening. A lot of this is happening because of how things are going, because of the background in terms of the results and how it's going with Celtic. It seemed to be going well, but it just seemed as if Brendan Rodgers was more or less indicating he wasn't getting the resources. And yet Dermot Desmond had said in his statement, he said he'd had meetings with him and he'd never complained at all about what he was being given. So we don't know what the true story was about that yet. I never really heard exactly what it was.
Your side, my side, and the truth.
Yeah. Because obviously when you've seen that statement, I've never seen anything like it. It was unbelievable. And obviously Dermot Desmond's a very intelligent guy. He wouldn't have put that statement out without actually speaking to his lawyers and whatnot. Totally, yeah. Because and I feel as though, in my opinion, I think it is definitely true because Desmond would never put himself in a situation where he could actually get sued in that sense. But I just want to bring up Rangers.
Brendan Rodgers never came back on that.
Says a lot. It says a lot. It speaks volumes.
I think you've also got to look at he's super professional, Brendan, right? Yeah. He doesn't say things that he doesn't really mean. He's very calm.
100%.
His press conference is very selective. The guy's been at a high level of management, right, with a lot of trophies. I think that the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to get involved in a public slagging match, right?
Yeah, maybe not.
So, Desmond's come out, he smashed the ball at the park. What's Brendan saying? Everybody wants the drama. And Brendan just went, you know what, enough said, let's probably just move on.
Say what you want about Scottish football, but it's never dull, is it, lads? It's never dull. But I was just going to say as well, just to bring up Rangers again, Gordon, see Andrew Kavanagh, one thing I do really like about him is the fact that he's very honest and he owns up to his mistakes. Yeah. Where he admitted, the appointment of Russell Martin, it was a mistake. I own it. And then obviously with Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thirlwell, they don't share the same vision as us, and we had to get rid of them. But I think Andrew Kavanagh, before he came in, he was like, this will be good. It'll be a nice week. Scottish football. It'll be nice. It'll be easy. Then I think he underestimated about how big of a job that he was walking into. But I think he's come across well so far.
I think so too. I think the main thing about him is absolutely spot on what you're saying. He's quite willing to make changes that are required to be made. It's not as if he's just saying, we'll just carry on with things. We've made this investment, we'll see how it goes. I mean, the thing about it is, I think he's more or less realised that Scottish football is not big, but Rangers and Celtic are. Rangers Celtic are massive clubs worldwide and all that sort of thing. And I think he's caught onto that. And that's why, in the support in terms of how many countries that the support's in and everything, he's more or less made a point of saying, we need to get this right. And I think that's why he's making the changes in order to let the fans know that this company are behind Rangers and they're going to get things right as going forward.
I think if you look at a few of the American owners that's bought into British football clubs, they've all struggled a little bit at the start because the buy-in process in the States is not buying players, they trade. Yeah. Right? You trade contracts, you trade them like pawns in the game, and then you come here and it's like, I don't like him, so we'll trade him somewhere else. And you can't do that. Yeah. Right. But the one thing that I've learned through all my time working in American soccer is the Americans, they're slow starters, but they're quick learners. Yeah. And I think if you look at the original owners that the Fenway Group bought Liverpool from, Gillette, Hicks, they kind of struggled. Yeah. Randy Lerner was at Aston Villa. Yeah. Kroenke, Arsenal. It all took them a wee bit of time to get organised. But once they get organised, they're getting their feet in Chelsea. You look at Chelsea, spent a lot of money, wasted a lot of money at the start. They've now they've started to turn the corner, and we can see now the club start to get in the right direction. So I think what you've said is they've made a couple of mistakes, they've acknowledged the mistakes, but they've no sat in their laurels and rested on it. They've went chop. Let's move on to a different direction, different path. And it seems to be where the club's going.
No, 100%. And I just want, yeah.
America better than anybody.
Of course, you were there for about, God, like 17, 20 years or so. Yeah, a good while.
Believe me, sometimes the way I played it felt like 20 years.
No, I can imagine, mate, I can imagine. And I just want to move on to Hearts. The start they've had, lads, it's been unbelievable.
It's great, but the thing about it is that I wondered about this, I spoke about this, I'm not just saying it now because it's happened. I did say a few weeks ago to people, I said, the one thing was, can these players handle the pressure? Because the expectancy levels are something that fine players can't handle. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, league championship opportunity here. We could win the league.
Yeah.
What happens then? Form goes like that. They just nerves kick in, and that's I think that's what's happened to them. Because they were, before that happened, before they were getting, everybody was saying that they could be league winners and all that. They were actually like very comfortable playing some great football. But since then, it's gone downhill. No,
it has. Like, obviously, the last 3 games they haven't won. They're still top of the league, of course. But remember last year, Aberdeen, they were flying high, and everyone was touting them to obviously be title challengers, and they got battered off Celtic in the League Cup semi-final, and they've never seen since. Yeah. But I think it's different with Hearts, so I'm not saying they're going to win the league. I don't think they will, right? I think they'll fade away, right? But the start they've had has been incredible, and they've got a great manager, Derek McInnes. They've got a great team as well. So I think it's now or never, because when you look at Rangers and Celtic, right now they're not in good places, right? Even though Celtic are kicking on under Martin O'Neill, but he's going to be gone soon. Hearts won't get a better chance, Gordon.
No. I know, as I say, if they just kept what you're saying there, these last few results, if they'd won these games, they'd be sitting in a comfortable position, then they could really take a big boost from that, thinking, wait a minute, we've got this big lead, we can only throw it away now. Whereas, that's what I was thinking, that if they could do that, leading up to Christmas, get these results in and finish the season, finish the first year, this year, with a very good lead. We could have been 10, 12 points, couldn't it have been, maybe even more? But not now. Was it 5 now? Is it 5?
They're 2 clear of Celtic. 2 clear of Celtic, so they are. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, they've started off brilliantly, and I think Tony Bloom's done an incredible job. He's got big ambitions, big goals. And I remember when he came in, everyone was laughing at him, saying, "Oh, I want to win the league with Hearts in the next 5 years." And he's putting his money where his mouth is.
I think what's happened is they've got the investment bounce, right? We need to call it the new manager bounce, right?
Yeah.
So they've got the Tony Bloom money coming in, right? Fans are buoyant. Derek McInnes comes in. I think they wanted a Scottish manager. That was clear, right? All of a sudden, they feel like a match made in heaven. They've started the season well. Celtic have their situation turned almost overnight from like Brendan going on to win the league again. Whatever's happened internally, it's got out. You could just see the nervousness about the club. They've been doing Rangers have not started well, so it was like almost like a great situation for Hearts. They've got the investment. Tony Bloom saying we want to win the league. The fans knew are like euphoria. They see them stopping, running away 3 and 4 nils and stuff like that, and then they've hit a little blip. But I think people talk about Hearts' bubble being burst. I guarantee you, Derek McInnes wasn't thinking that they were going to win the league 8 games, right? And I think it's like he's trying to take all the expectations. He's like, okay, listen, we'll hit a little blip. I think was it Shanklin was injured? Maybe I don't know if he played this weekend, but they missed him against Aberdeen, he's their talisman, as well knows, goal scorer supreme. And I think that come January time, I would imagine that they're going to invest again and then kick on. But as Gordon mentioned, they've came, Rangers have slipped, Celtic have slipped, and now the spotlight swung to Hearts, and everybody's new under that extra bit of pressure when they've got league leaders. They're going to, they've got to win 3 or 4 today, and it's a bigger, different challenge from chasing teams to having teams chasing you behind. Different pressure.
100%. And Gordon, I just want to touch on your time at Rangers as sporting director 13 years ago. It was, and what a chaotic season that was for you to walk into. Craig White came in at the club, and it was administration and demotion to the lower leagues. But what was it like working at Rangers during that time, all that chaos going on?
It was very hard because, as I say, I was doing reports for Craig White, thinking that he would be taking it on board. I did reports on the different areas within the different football section, and I gave him the reports, and I kept 2 or 3 times I spoke to him and said, "What are we going to do? We'll get around to it. That's what he kept saying to me. Now, do you know the day we actually went into administration, we had a meeting with the youth people at Auchenhowie, right? All the youth squad and players, all that. And Craig White said, there's a lot of talk about us going into administration. It's not going to happen. We're then going to meet the first team squad with all the people there. And he's away on the phone. and Ali Russell was the chief operating officer. And I said to him, these people are all waiting for this second meeting. And he says, I know, I'll need to get them back. So he went to see him, and he came back and he says to me, we're just getting to administration. Between the two meetings to say it wasn't going to happen, we went into administration at that point. And that was after I'd been there 6 months. And to be honest with you, I just, that was I think that was on the Wednesday, I think, and I just left. On the Friday, I just left the club. I said, you don't need a director of football anymore. When the situation we're in now, I'm away. I just walked out and left it. Because I say that was a turning point for the club at that point, administration thing, which ended up, as you know, went even worse with the fact that it looked into receivership and then got demoted in the leagues and all that sort of thing. So I just was out of it. So it still annoys me to this day that I went and get involved in it, because I say, a lot of people say, what were you doing? What did you actually do there? And apart from helping to bring in some players that we brought in, it was nothing. I didn't really do an awful lot, because the reports I'd done, which I was hoping that he would take on board to improve some of the different areas of the club, never ever get around to.
And so I'll ask you as well, when did you first realise, right, there's something not right with this Craig White character?
I'll tell you when I first realised it, because we went to Germany, a pre-season game, and I just joined the club then, and I went over there, and because I speak German, I was speaking to the people in the hotel. It was a family hotel. It was a mother and son who ran it, right? And I was speaking to them, talking away to them. I gave them my card, and that was about July. And then I think it was September or October, the guy sent me an email from the hotel saying, we've not been paid yet. Not been paid. It was 38,000 euros they were owed, right? And so I went to see the financial people, and they said, oh, Mr. White says we're not paying. There's certain things doesn't let us pay and all that. I says, I want these people paid. I'm telling you right now, I want them to pay. And so I left that meeting with a guy in the financial side, and about a week later, I got an email from the German chap at the hotel saying, thanks very much, we're being paid. So they got paid because I made a big fuss about it. But that was a little moment when I suddenly thought, wait a minute here, he's choosing to pay certain bills but not them all. You know, and I thought that was ridiculous. A family hotel, and people hadn't been paid for months.
And then what was the working relationship like with Craig White?
It was hardly there. He'd come every now and again. Sometimes come to a home game or whatever. It was mainly, I never ever met him. Only met him, I think maybe once or twice on my own to speak to him. The rest of the time he was with Ali Russell, the chief operating officer, and he came in. But I could tell he wasn't into football. He wasn't a football guy at all.
What was his reason for buying the club? What was the interest?
I don't know. He got it for £1. Right? David Murray gave him, sold it for £1 to him, didn't he? So I don't know what it was, just to do a financial thing to make money and sell it on at some stage or whatever. That might have been the whole point of it. I don't know. But he say what his main ambitions were on it, I have no idea.
And see, in terms of David Murray though, he was the one that sold the club to Craig White. Do you think his legacy is forever tainted now?
Certainly might be to a certain degree, but I think he was pressurised. I think there's a lot of talk that David Murray was pressurised by the banks over certain situations and things that he had, assets he had and different things that he was told to actually make the sale. And it wasn't, he was obviously not getting any money. He was almost like told to give it away. And that's what happened. So I had a lot of time for David Murray, I must be honest with you. In my time as an agent, dealing with clubs and all that, he was probably one of the, if not the best to deal with. Because at least with David Murray, made a decision, it got done. It didn't have to go to a meeting with the board or this, that. David Murray ran the club.
And what was it like working with Coisty?
It was fun. It was good. He's a great character for Coisty. I mean, it was him and it was Durante and Kenny McDowell were the main sort of coaches and all that. So just a case of saying, well, you know, I'm here to help you, and that's all I could do. It was just to basically try and do as much as I could from him, you know. But it was tough for him too, because he was struggling, because he did lose a few players and all that time sort of thing. But he was always up for it, Coisty.
And I feel sorry for Coisty as well, because John, that was like his dream gig to obviously become Rangers manager, and then he walked into an absolute mess and demotion to the lower leagues. And yeah, obviously Coisty's not managed since, but I felt so sorry for him. I really did.
It's a difficult situation. I don't think Coisty will complain now, because I think it's turned out well for him. He's on that television Monday to Sunday.
Can't get away from him.
But as you say, it is. Gordon will tell you as well, most people in football would say when you get into a situation like Gordon said, if Gordon gets into the right situation at Rangers Football Club at that time and they get success, you're probably in there for 5-10 years.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the same with Coisty, you get in there and you've got the right financial backing behind you, the club's solid, the foundations are great, and it's turning over the way it should be, then he might be in there for 10 years.
Yeah.
But you can be the most talented individual, could be player, manager, director. You get into the wrong situation at the wrong time, and you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, and all hell breaks loose and ends up in your career.
Absolutely right. I made a mistake because I say it was one of those ones. My head was saying me like, "No, just keep doing what you're doing just now." But then I thought, no, it's Rangers. I'll see if I can help and get in there and do it. So it turned out it was a mistake.
Can I jump in there? Do you think that it's a footballing mentality of like being a competitor right from the young age, and all of a sudden there might be things not quite right at the club, but that competitive, like, because you've always fought for your position, right? Yeah. 3 or 4 strikers in the club, when I'm beating him, if I just get a chance, maybe you're thinking, I can get in there. I know I've got the ability to turn it around, but then you realise it's not just your ability; it's all the financials and the irregularities behind the scenes.
Absolutely,
that is your downfall.
You're absolutely right. I didn't know about a lot of these things because I'd been a chief executive of the SFA. I'd been an agent for years. I played in 4 countries at the highest level as well. So a great deal of experience in the game. So I just felt that I've got something to offer here. I've got my knowledge and my experience in the game is something. Competitive, and I'm going to make this work because I'm always of an opinion. I know you're probably the same. It's like whatever I'm doing, I want to do it well. You know what I mean? I never want to fail at anything.
100%, Gordon. And just to finish off, some quick fire questions for you. The best player that you've ever played with?
Davy Cooper. Cooper's a magnificent player. I love playing with Davy. And a lot of people don't know that. Would see when I went to Brighton manager Alan Morley told me after I shook hands with him, he goes, "I tried to sign 2 of you," and I went, "What do you mean?" He goes, "First saw you scored 2 against West Ham, and then against Kilmarnock, I saw the 2 games." He says, "And David Cooper made you 3 goals." I went, "Yeah, I play well with him." And he goes, "I tried to sign you both." I went, "You tried to sign us both?" He goes, "Yeah." And Rangers said I could only have 1 of you. I went, "Oh, you're around 1 then."
He crossed the ball. He was unbelievable. Wonderful.
Yeah, one. Good clue.
You run, but keep cross the ball, man. Incredible.
Yeah.
Your best memory in football?
I think it's just probably my first Old Firm game. It was a great memory. We're losing 2-0 at half time, and it was at Ibrox, and we came in. Jock Wallace. I thought we were going to get slaughtered, but it was a very, very positive team talk. He said, "You've been a better team. They've scored 2 lucky goals. You're fitter than them, and if you play like that in the second half, we'll win this game." And we won 3-2, and I scored 2 goals in that game. That was my first ever Old Firm, first one I'd even ever been at. Right, so that was my best memory.
The best bit of advice you've received from someone in the game?
I think the best bit of advice is just to say is just to believe in yourself and say no matter what sort of criticism you get. Says you'll always come up with criticism, but as long as you believe in yourself, that's the main thing. They said you can overcome criticism if you do that.
The best goal that you ever scored?
Best goal, I think probably. What do I think?
Scored that many.
I know, lots.
Well, I enjoyed my goal against Juventus was special for me. When we beat Juventus, they were favourites to win the European Cup, and they'd actually 6 players or 7 maybe even in that team who became World Cup winners. But 2 or 3 years later, you were a great team. So we beat them 2-0 at home, and I got the second goal that day, so I'll always remember that.
The best manager that you worked under?
Jock Wallace.
Can I ask you one?
Yeah.
Give me the team that you would like to play in today, and the manager that you think would get the best out of you in modern football. Doesn't need to be the same manager, the same team.
Yeah.
But what team you think would play to your strengths, and what manager? So it could be Liverpool and Pep.
Yeah.
It could be Newcastle and whatever.
Yeah.
Who would you see? Best team that you think would see a successful World Cup?
I think Man City, Guardiola.
Yeah.
Guardiola.
So it would be them and Pep.
I think so. Pep. Yeah, I think he was tremendous. I think I don't think there's any doubt about that. He's got something special, especially with his Barcelona background and all that.
Yeah.
Very top.
Yeah. And just to finish off the last one, Gordon, I know I've asked you this before when you were on my podcast, but I ask everyone that comes on the show this question: who's better, Ronaldo or Messi?
Messi is more naturally talented, but Ronaldo has made it to where he is because of his fantastic work rate and the amount of time he puts in to make himself great. But in terms of natural ability, Lionel Messi.
Yeah. And that's the thing as well, Ronaldo's going to be 41 next year. He's going to the World Cup. It's insane like that he's still going. He could probably go into his mid-40s.
How many caps he's got?
It's about 200 plus or something.
227.
That's insane.
That's incredible.
Honestly, it's insane. I don't think I've ever seen another like him.
Everybody else gets 100, you go, that's brilliant. 227.
Drive and desire to stay at the top level is unmatched.
Alex Ferguson told me that. He said that the day never finished for him in the morning when training finished at lunchtime. That wasn't it. Ronaldo wasn't finished. Mm-hmm. He was in the gym working on his how high he could jump, his strength, everything. And he's been doing that now for like, what, 24, 45 years. Amazing, great talent.
No, and it's honestly, it's insane. We'll never see another like Cristiano Ronaldo, but man, so does I think Ronaldo's a GOAT. So I do. Really? So I do. Yeah, I do. Oh, I love him. So I do. But guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. Gordon, thank you so much for coming on. And John, absolute pleasure as always, mate. Thank you so much. And thank you very much for watching the show, guys. Also, a big thanks to Charlie's Law for letting us use the venue, and to Lyle and Scott for sorting us out with the fantastic gear. And until next time, guys, take care, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.